Hi everyone, welcome to my channel and welcome back to my subscribers. As always, thank you for your support. So lately I have been creating these fabric specimen slides, and that is today's tutorial. Let's take a look at how I made these. So I'm going to set these aside, and with this one I intentionally didn't glue the two together, and I'll show you why later on. So you will need 2 pieces of cardstock that you will fold in half, but the first size is, the smaller size is 5 by 2.5, and then you have the bigger size that is 6.5 by 3 1/4, and you will glue these together. So let me just do that very quickly. And you want to make sure that you really get along the edge, because we're going to use this as the basis for the pocket that we're going to create. I'm going to create pockets with these. Okay. So now that I've got these glued down, with the smaller one, you need a plain piece of cloth. Now I have been using the flour sack towel. And what you want to do is you want to cut this. You want to give yourself some room on the outside. Okay, a lot of room on the outside, so that you have you're eventually going to cut it down a little bit closer and into the shape of a square, but you want to leave yourself enough room so that you can do the frayed edges. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I am going to glue this down. So I'm going to just use some Mod Podge. And now that I've got my Mod Podge down and it's still, you know, nice and wet, so I can glue the fabric on it, I'm going to take my flour sack towel, put that over it. I'm going to start from the middle and just push out and try to make sure that I get that nice and flat. Okay, and that looks pretty nice and flat. And if there's anything on the edges that didn't get glued down, you'll just take some more of your Mod Podge. Get that glued down. And I think the other edges, they look okay. And I'm just going to set that side for a moment. Okay, and I'll come back to it. Okay, now that's going to be the basis for this, for your top card that you're going to stamp your insect on and anything else that you want, the smaller card. Okay, then you need this backing, right? So here's what I did to create the backing. I took my stamp pad, and you can see here I still have some tape on here. I taped my Tim Holtz stamp to the lid, and then I taped down, I removed some of the tape because I had to cut around. I taped down really well the flour sack towel, and I used the black ink, inked this up, and then I did that 3 times. Things didn't shift because I had them taped down really well. I also used, if you could see these little coffee stains, I used the Distress Vintage Photo Ink, and I used one of these coffee stain stamps to stamp in different places. And then you'll see some brown shading in a pattern in the background, and that's where I used a a stencil, and I used again the vintage photo. So vintage photo for those little coffee stains, and then for the patterns in different places. Okay, and as you can see here, this is where I cut things out in this area here for the backing. Okay, and then eventually we'll get to this point. So with the larger piece of paper, I need to do the same process that I did for the smaller. Make sure that it's you leave yourself some room on the outside for the fraying. And what I'm going to do here is I've decided I want this area for my backing, and I'm just going to take a pencil and I'm just going to make some markings where I need to cut out things. So I'm going to cut probably around here and somewhere around here as well. So I'm going to cut this larger piece out off camera, and I'll get it glued down like we did with the first one, and then I'll show you how I did the cutting and the fraying, and then I'll be right back. Okay? So I'm cutting things down, and okay, so I didn't cut it exactly to the card because I need extra fabric so that I can do some fraying. Okay, so now that I have that, I'm going to do a little bit of fraying. And we can cut away a little bit of the parts that are just sticking up. And we'll do some more fraying. And I'm just going to do that all around. And I don't want to do too much fraying because then you start going into the card. So that's when I start to clip away some of the excess. Okay. See, if I continue to pull, then it starts to expose too much of the card. So then I just know, okay, it's time to stop pulling and just cut those parts down that are hanging out. Okay, so now I'm going to take my, just clear this away. Just continue to cut some of that excess that's hanging here. Okay, so now I'm going to take my vintage photo and I'm going to go along the edges here. And I want the edges really nice and dark. And I'm going to go slightly into the card, not too much. Okay, I'm going to take out my stamp pad and I'm going to do some stamping. So now on this larger piece, you're going to do the exact same thing. You'll cut it to where it's a little bit smaller, and then you'll start doing the fraying. And then this I'll do off camera, and then you'll also do the distressing. I'll do that off camera, okay? And then I'll come back. I'm using my stamp pad, and I'm going to place things down. And place stamps on these, on this, and I think that's going to be good enough because it's just a demonstration. And I will grab this. Okay, and I will ink. And I want to remove, I think I'm going to get a smudge right here. And another smudge probably right there. Okay. So here goes. See how well we did? And that's not too bad. And I'm not going to continue to ink. I think that that is good enough. So I'm going to pull this up. Okay, so I have this one glued down, and here's the larger one that we have been working on. So here's the back, and this is going to be the top. And I have some Mod Podge again, and I am just going to take the Mod Podge on the smaller one, and I'll spread that across the paper. And I'm being very generous with it. Okay, I'm going to set this aside and bring this over. See where I'm going to position this and put this down right about there. Okay, so that is the completed specimen card. Now I want to make some pockets out of these. So I have some things that I have already cut out, and I've done some distressing too. So I want to now turn these into pockets. So I'm going to use this one, and I'm going to use this one, and just going to set that one aside. So remember, because we used cardstock on the back, right, we can just use our regular craft glue. So I'm going to glue down 3 sides. I'm going to glue this side here on top of the cardstock, right here, and right here. Okay, so I am going to let that set, and then I'll come back. And I just want to make sure that, yep, I did indeed hit the cardstock. And I'm going to let that set, and then I'll come back. Okay, and I'm going to repeat that with this one as well. So I'm going to glue 3 sides, and I'm putting the glue onto the cardstock. Okay, and now we get to fill it with a few goodies. So last week we made a different kind of fabric specimen card. So I think I want to put that, I'll probably put that in here. And I have some other cards and things here that I can use. And I can put in here. And that is our tutorial for today. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you liked the video. Take care, everyone. Okay, everyone, if you like this video, please share, please hit the like button, and please subscribe. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.